obviously that will be addressed from a study perspective, but from a big picture perspective, somebody's gonna develop there, the traffic is coming. So if you throw these guys out because you don't like their plan, somebody else will do something there that will conform to zoning, at whatever it happens to be at that point, and you're gonna get the traffic.
Well, and that's exactly why I said, no matter what, no matter who builds there, traffic is our biggest nemesis at this point. There could be other concerns.
But it doesn't relate specifically to whether or not Burke's Home should build or not.
Right, I don't
It's
care
not
who
specific to
builds
them.
there.
It's gonna be
We just need to
traffic.
make sure our community is taken care
That's
of
correct.
and we don't burden ourselves.
Right.
So we're watching out for our community, not the pocket of the builder.
Yeah,
That's our job,
right.
not to be concerned
That's
about who's building there.
You're exactly
Whatever
right.
Because I
goes
don't
there
care
will
who
do the
builds
rest
there.
of
Yeah,
our
right.
lives.
I don't either, and you're exactly right, I feel the same way.
The
So
pro-
we're not gonna rush into this,
Yeah.
we'll take it slow.
I don't think anybody's
We have a
asking you to
motion in a
rush.
second.
Well, you said things that
Yeah.
were in the future, it's not in the future, we do have to think about a couple more police, we do have to think about the traffic. We have to think about all that and then come back
the whole big
to the
picture.
subject.
But ain't nothing gonna happen until we get this up to the Peter
So we have a
Houston.
motion in
The
a
problem
second.
is with high density housing, it takes more police officers to police that.
Yeah.
The one of the develops that has the least amount of problems that need to be addressed by police is Mountaineer Village. I think the minimum lot size there is 2 acres.
Yes.
Okay, you go into the townhomes over, Penwood's actually a terrible one. Vandalism all the time there.
Sure.
I mean,
That's because we take care of each other in Mountaineer Village, right,
Well-
Paul? We do, we look out for each other in there.
so that's what the concern is of all these units on that property.
We do.
Okay,
Yeah.
Okay, are we ready to vote?
okay. One concern you have is, we need to be, make sure that, I'd rather have somebody that we can work with. I mean, we could have, we could hit the big time, the casino come in, and like Toll Brothers will want to move in. They did that to Westtown and pretty much bankrupt the township, force their way in. So, we have to, sometimes, you don't want to do the hold your nose test, but we also have to be realized that it's going to get developed. And, sometimes you have to do what makes sense in the general big picture.
What do you
Yeah.
mean by forcing their way in?
Lawsuit,
Well, how?
they have a lot of money and they wanted to build there and they made it happen.
Really?
Yep.
We have provisions for residential and other properties. in
Yeah,
the
they have
township.
deep pockets too.
All right, so we have a motion in a second. All those in favor? Aye.
No.
Okay, so we have
You
next,
have one no?
one no.
Yep.
Okay.
The MS 965 liquid fuels form. And you just need permission to fill that out online.
It's done
Already
online,
done.
PennDOT's approved, I wanted you to see it, I don't know if maybe, I don't know if it's okay
Thank
to acknowledge that you received it, but it explains what was spent and how much you're gonna get for this year. Do they acknowledge that? Eric?
I don't know if we did yours before, we just waited for you to submit it.
Yeah, it doesn't hurt to make a motion so we can have it. If you want to announce what you're getting, you can do that.
I make a motion to accept that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Clock Tower traffic signal update and CNI agreement.
We just wanted you to see what, it's gonna cost to maintain the clock tower signal, but this will be reimbursable to the township, so we've got the thing started, here it is, and then, yes.
And that's what we estimated when we approved it.
And we just need a signature for it, so I guess Sandy can sign.
All right, police department policies. Anything on the body cameras?
Yeah, some of these are with me, some are with others. Body cameras and towing is with my office, and I've got drafts that I want to get to Matt before there's a public discussion
Okay.
so that he can incorporate his thoughts. Mutual aid, is that still with the other townships?
That changed from what I gave you. I did get something back from Robinson and Bracknock and Birdsboro.
Okay.
Yeah, so it just adds Birdsboro into it.
Okay.
I have it somewhere, but if you
You can
get it.
get that to me, and then if they're all now in an agreement,
Here it is.
you might be able to get this on the agenda for your next meeting, along with those policies. And then use of force, I know was with Matt, and you're working through that?
Chris just sent me a whole other bunch of stuff, and I'm not sure what you want me to do with it. I'm supposed to incorporate the two of these.
Yeah, share your thoughts, and we can work with you to incorporate them. And what I also would suggest, since we've got several of these policies in working format, since there was some questions on policy making from the public 2 weeks ago, that maybe we can devote 30 minutes or so at your next meeting to address all of the policies with Matt, and maybe do some education to show both, not only the board, but the public as well, what role solicitor plays versus chief versus DA, why the policies are important, what we're specifically looking at with regard to the policies. And we can sort of accomplish everything in one meeting. And by everything, I would mean maybe a brief presentation to everyone, where we can take your questions, addressing these 3 policies in the mutual aid agreement. By then, I think Matt and I can have coordinated any outstanding issues with regard to those policies, so everything's lined up. Is everybody okay with us doing that on the 9th?
Yes.
So the 9th it will be, it can be sort of like a police management forum.
What time of night?
That's a regular meeting.
Right.
Regular meeting.
Okay.
And then.
You don't think there's too much on the schedule there for that night? No. That's a regular meeting, it's not a workshop.
Yeah, it should be fine. And that'll include towing services?
Yeah, we'll cover everything.
Okay. All right.
Because then it was done towing services. It's gonna be rotating.
Well, I got a draft, I have to get it to him, so I don't know how much morning what he wants to do.
And you'll will the information in there as far as requirements as insurance and bonds or whatever.
Okay.
I mean, he doesn't have that now? Insurance for the towing services.
Yes, I do.
Yes, we have that.
Why you
We're just
don't
making
rate
sure
that?
we have,
We don't
we're
use
we're
it.
reviewing,
Oh, you don't?
we're making
No,
some
because he
pricing
didn't give me his
changes.
information.
Oh,
But the agencies that do, they all got me.
So they were
decent-
approved by the board then, towing service?
No, that's what the board's working for,
That's what
so
we're working on, a policy.
they're gonna reduce.
He's already using them, so they must be approved, right?
We- There was no approval. As long as they had their paperwork in,
I had to get approved here at the board. On the old board?
okay, well, I don't know, I mean, we're going on policies, we're making these policies now, to
Yeah.
make sure everyone
Matter
knows
of
what
fact,
they
the old
are.
chief's standing here, he brought it to you. Right, Stoltz?
You can leave now, Paul. if you want.
I don't truthfully remember, but I know we have discussed in years past.
Okay,
He even came to my lot, made sure I had a proper, impound lot, insurance.
well, we're gonna make sure we have an ordinance in place, that there's rules to follow and
Yeah, but
procedures.
he's using them now, and he's not following them.
Okay, well, we're dealing with this right now. Okay, so chief of police hiring. So I resent the sample that was in the last packet. The sample one is the one I
I
like.
think I like to see.
Yeah, I like the sample one.
A sample of what?
job description.
Job description.
Okay.
We were at the last meeting, you guys mentioned something about the PA Chiefs Association assisting.
Yep.
That's the contact that you would,
Okay.
contact for that.
I can introduce a little thought here. Usually from a legal perspective, what we like to see when there's a vacancy in the chief's position, it's a good opportunity for the board to reevaluate the position and update its job description if it's necessary. Sometimes it's not always necessary. Make sure there's a consensus among the 5 board members as to what the job requirements are and the duties are, so that when you go through the hiring and application process, you have something updated and recent to give applicants to explain the position. And so what the board has is the current job description in the SOPs, a sample job description. If you're inclined to use the sample, I do have a question or two about it, because the sample assumes that the chief of police is a working position, and that the person who fills the position will be required to perform investigative and control duties in the field. Is that a true statement for your police department, or is it not? Is it?
I think that's a true statement.
That's always been a true statement.
Who's hiring this person? You?
We will
We're
eventually,
working on,
yes.
And Officer Meno, will you have a say in that too? I mean, can they promote within, or
I don't know.
anybody can, I mean, any of our officers can apply for that position
We're
if they're
still
qualified?
deciding that, but
we've never denied an officer from
no, we
applying.
usually allow it within and outside, we look.
Okay.
We always have done that, as far as I know in the past.
But, the one thing on the education, Eric, it says minimum 2 years of college level education in police administration or related fields. Could we maybe also put in there, 5 years chief of police experience in
4 or
lieu
5
of-
years chief
Yeah,
experience.
You can put anything that
Do
you want.
guys have-
so no, if you don't have a college education, if you have 5 years.
Well, let's read through it so everybody here knows what we're talking about. So there's a section on minimum education, training, and experience. So the requirements would be that the chief needs to be certified by MOPEC, the statewide accrediting agency. That's obvious, right? In the sample, it just says minimum 7 years progressive experience as a law enforcement officer in a federal, state, or local law enforcement agency. That's arbitrary, and you can require experience or you don't. It's up to the board. You don't have to go by what the sample here says.
I'm fine with the sample. You guys fine with that sample for the 7 years
Sure.
experience?
7 years experience, but I would like to see that defined a little bit by leadership experience, not just
Well, that's where the
police.
third one comes in.
That's where, yeah, in
Third
lieu
bullet
of college,
point.
we could do 5 years chief of police or
Yes.
leadership, yes.
I worry about us bringing someone in that doesn't know the people like John did. That's what I worry about. People not knowing our kids and not knowing us.
Well, I can tell you, there's 5 of us. There's police here, there's solicitors, there's residents. My family lives in this township, obviously. I have 4 children that went to school here, they're growing up here, they'll probably raise their families here. So I have a vested interest in this as well.
Okay.
We're not just, you know what I mean, it's not just willy-nilly, who cares about the people who live
Right,
here?
right.
I live here.
Yeah, okay, good, because I'm about keeping this community, you know, the kind of the way it is, you know, we're like a big family here, and I really like that, and that's what I strive to keep, and I just may run for the board just because of that, so, but, okay, I'm glad, good.
Okay, so if you want objectively to require some command staff experience or sergeant level experience or more, then you should say that. So if you want 2 years or 4 years or 5 years of X experience, then you should really put that in there.
Yeah.
I think we should have at least, 4 years or 5 as the chief?
I would say 5 years in a leadership position.
With good communication skills.
So 4 years experience.
Well, which one are you talking about? So the second one on here says minimum 7 years progressive experience in law enforcement. That's one level. The next level is it wants minimum 2 years of college, but that's where I would sooner see, or
Yes.
5 years as a chief somewhere in lieu of the college, because not everyone went, you know.
Yeah,
College in that profession doesn't
I mean-
necessarily determine how good
Is
you
it
are as a
mandatory to have
police
Yeah.
officer.
college to be a chief? I mean,
No, it doesn't make you a
Right,
better
there's no-
candidate or not, it depends on the
Because of
individual.
police-
you have criminal
Right,
justice
right.
background, though, if
If
you
you
go
have
to
a-
college.
If you have a sergeant or a police chief that's applying for the job, chances are they've been to multiple training classes, which would probably total up to the same as college credits.
right, so if they don't have 5 years as a chief experience, then we have that they have 2 years of college with maybe criminal justice and
Right.
psychology.
Sandy, you're liable to get captains from the city of Reading
Oh, Jesus.
who have
Yeah.
the background, who may not be a chief, but they have the leadership. So all I'm saying is you don't want to limit yourself to
Right.
saying chiefs of police for 4 years for college,
Okay.
because there's a lot of captains that had to go to the FBI Academy and stuff like that in order to attain that position.
Well, that's why I'd like to say in a leadership position.
Leadership
Okay.
covers it, it doesn't limit you to the chief of police position,
Yeah.
Okay.
just for what it's worth.
Somebody from a big city, you know, Philly or Reading, you know, they're not gonna be able to deal with our town. They're used to dealing with, you know, killings every night and everything. That's not what's going on here, you know?
Thank
We're-
God.
I know.
Okay, so are you okay with the leadership position for 5 years in lieu of a college degree?
Yes, I would
Yes.
say yes to that.
Yes.
Yes.
One thing I didn't see addressed in here, Eric, as far as, where the chief would live, is there anything in here about that? I prefer someone in the community.
Did
Someone
we
lives
always
in the
require that
community.
before though? Was that a requirement before? for the
It
chief
used to
live
be
in
at
the
one
community?
time or within a certain
Was it?
distance.
And you, yes, it was.
It is probably not in the sample, but that's something that
It's
you can
not in the
add if
sample.
you'd like.
Isn't that really gonna
Distance and
limit-
mileage.
Yeah, do mileage, isn't it really gonna limit you if you just want something?
Right,
that you-
yeah.
Yeah,
it is.
I think we should be.
Our contract is within 1 hour drive.
Wow.
That's what
Yeah,
ours
but for a
says.
chief,
That's
I would
I'd
rather
rather have.
What was it?
That's a lot.
That's
Do you
what ours-
remember?
I think that's what ours says.
30 minutes, 20 miles.
30 minutes.
That's good.
That sounds reasonable.
Yeah.
That means they're from the area.
Okay.
Can you put in there must live in the community or,
Well, within 30 minutes, 20 miles.
no, I'm saying live in the township within a certain date of hiring, commit to moving to the township. Cause
Yeah.
honestly, I understand what Pat's saying,
Patty.
if, Pat, I'm sorry. If your chief has children going to school with your children, there's more of a bond there, you know what I mean?
Right.
I think that really limits.
That's just
I
what
just-
we said.
Yeah.
What's the starting salary gonna be?
You didn't get there
I
yet.
mean, that's part of the discussion.
Just don't give the whole house
They have
away.
to move into the community.
Probably be close to the other one.
Okay, so,
Well, what was John getting, 90?
I think more.
I think it was like kind of.
We're not allowed to
The other-
discuss that, are we?
The other one, what?
No, I'm just kidding.
The guy from Westchester?
under required licenses and certificates, there would be one I would add from this sample based on prior experience. We would want the chief to be capable of obtaining all access to required criminal databases like JNet.
Okay.
Are there other changes, additions, deletions?
I didn't have any others.
I think that looks pretty
How about
good.
psychology?
That's good.
You have that, it's on here, in here.
Cause they gotta talk them down now with these lip cards.
Then, in addition to the job description, what's on here is a hiring timeline. This could be your opportunity to discuss whatever you want to go about hiring someone. My recommendation is that the process is put into writing so that it's clear to applicants what to expect and clear to the public what to expect. There's no deviations. I've seen cases where applicants are promised to be interviewed and then all of a sudden, after boards review the applications, they just decide to hire someone. And then what used to be the process everybody was expecting then doesn't get followed, and then there's suspicions as to why. And I would just as soon see you avoid that by committing to a process, whatever that process may be, it's up to you. The only thing the law requires is that you're an equal opportunity employer. But beyond that, it's really up to your discretion on whether township's gonna hire someone, and you guys are gonna run the hiring process, or there's gonna be a committee, where you're gonna bring in an association or some outside person. There's no legal ramifications for what you do as long as you do it according to a non-discriminatory process. I recommend that once you commit to the process, if you can do that tonight, I'll then put it in writing for you to ratify at the next meeting, as this is the process that we're following.
You wanna do it like we did the last time? Have a subcommittee of 2 supervisors that accept the applications. When they pick the ones that they feel are worth interviewing, bring it to the board, ask the board, if you want us to bring these guys in or whatever, or maybe we all look at all the
Well,
apps
I think that would be good, that the 2 members
to do the interview.
to do the interview, also with Matt. I think Matt should sit in for a portion of that. Ultimately, you know what I mean?
I agree.
They have to work together. So I think Matt should be able to do his own little interview. even if it's just for a portion of the interview, for, you know, for personal matters or whatever. But I think Matt should get an opportunity. And if Matt is applying, then I think next in command should get the opportunity to interview him if he'd like.
This next in command should know we're pretty good.
Well, that doesn't matter, I would like to see that in writing, that's all. Just, lots, keep honest people honest, right?
Okay, but then we also have the information from the PA Chiefs Association on hiring process where they break it down and then it comes to us and then we go through our procedure that you just laid out. Where they'll read through a lot more applicants, but that comes with a hefty price, it looks like.
Well, and the only
Like,
concern that I
what's
have with
hefty?
that,
Hefty, from what I see on this one, it's $5,000.
Wow.
the only concern I have with that is they're interviewing for none of the reasons that Patty suggested.
Right, right,
Is living in the community with us.
and I'm just throwing it out there. 'cause
That's not their concern. Their concern is who they're putting here, and looking good with the guy they put here, and the guy they put here may have been a chief in Radnor where there's 30,000 people.
Yeah.
So we
no,
can still use that same database to advertise,
yeah,
which is what you just.
and ultimately, if something would go wrong, all the people in the audience are gonna hold our feet to the fire, so I would like to get started knowing who's coming.
Can anybody be on this committee? I mean, can, like, I be on that committee?
It's usually a couple board members.
It's usually,
Okay.
and it's usually, the way we've done it in the past, was it was the police liaison and the assistant police liaison, who usually,
Well, no, how we did it in the past, I think we all reviewed the applications, we filtered them out, and then the police liaison and the assistant would then go in and
And
do the
interview,
interviews.
yes.
And then bring that information
I
back.
said there's 12 applicants, we cut it to
We'd all pick the
5.
ones that we,
Yeah, I
the top
think
ones
Jen
would
and I
get
did
it.
it last, and we narrowed it down to maybe 3 or 4 candidates,
yeah.
and then the entire board interviewed them, I think.
How many chief of police have we had in the last 8 years? 3?
2.
Just 2?
Yeah, as far as I know, yes.
And you've been up there for 2 terms?
Yes.
Who else has been up there
Just
for 2
about.
terms?
I'm in my second one.
You're in your second one
So is
too?
Paulie, he's in his second.
Okay, so what do you want from, what direction do you need?
Start at the beginning with your job advertisement, where do you want us to do that, and what do you want, well, where do you want us, how big a search do you wanna conduct or reach? Do you want an ad in the, you said there's an association
Yes.
website or a magazine or?
Well, the Chiefs Association we can advertise through,
And what's that cost?
that we need to call it.
Okay.
Now, this here one, is this a different organization?
That's the PA Chiefs Association, as opposed to a more local, like Berks. I'm also a member of Berks. I don't think they put that together though. I think it's just, I think the state, actually has like a board and they have a process.
Okay, so,
Can we look within our own police department first before we, I mean, an interview before we go on the outside?
Well, we have-
I don't
legally-
even know who the police are,
Legally, we have
But-
to post a job.
except one.
Legally, we have to post a job, is
You
that
do?
correct?
I mean, at the hospital, we always try to promote within, and then we go on the outside when we can't find a candidate, but, I mean, I don't know what your rules are.
so
Are you,
advertise, you guys wanna advertise in the PA Chiefs Association?
Do we wanna
Find
go
out what it
PA chiefs
costs.
because we have to tell
Right.
them that they have to be 21 or 30 minutes? PA
But that'll
chiefs could
be
be
in
in
there.
Pittsburgh.
Yeah, but those people won't respond.
Maybe nobody
If
wants
they're
Right,
that
they're not
bad.
gonna
Yeah, we
respond.
have to.
I mean, as long as it's affordable, if it's $2,000 to advertise,
Right,
it's
right.
not worth it.
Jim, did you get any pricing on the advertising from any associations?
Well, the one that Matt was referring to looks like it's about $100.
Oh, that's
Okay, yeah.
reasonable.
Chief Benson gave me another contact called Safe City Solutions. So he didn't mention any prices, he just said he's there for us if we need assistance, so he's gonna be a good resource. I would imagine some of these probably don't cost much or anything, you know.
How long is the ad run for $100?
This says 90 days.
Wow, cause I'll bet the Red Eagle's much higher than that, isn't it? For a job posting, yeah.
And that's not gonna be for 90 days either. No.
So I would think if Chief Benson's referral, if it's $100, what's the max you wanna go to advertise with one Chief Benson is also referring?
If his price is the same as
Not to exceed 200, I mean, because if we advertise in the Reading Eagle, I would say that's probably gonna push us 250 if we're gonna
I think-
match a 90-day.
Yeah, and these folks, they're gonna know who to go to, you know, cause Reading Eagle, you probably almost have to tell someone, hey, look in the Reading
Right.
Eagle if you're interested. These,
Right, I
that's the
think the police will
target.
be on those websites.
Yeah, so you're gonna get more for your money.
So, I mean, I'm
I
gonna
would
give
rather
those
use
two
them.
sources.
And if we're gonna give the money to somebody, let's give it back to the police association.
Okay, so
I'll
we're
let you know
opening
when I
one
find
of those two publications. One Chief Benson.
Yes.
And Chief. Okay.
Yes. Do we need a motion for that?
You do, you want us
I'll
to?
make a motion that we use those two organizations, not to exceed $200 per event.
I'll say.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And so as far as the job description goes, we'll just wait, it'll be distributed for the final.
Yeah, well, let's finalize that job description on February 9th. And, the job, the ad, the posting that will go into the websites that you want. We can do, I guess, one or two things for the sake of time. We can develop one and make sure it's okay. Generally speaking, we'll work off of the job description that you're okay with. And then just post it, or do you want that job description, the job posting to come back to the board for a vote on February 9th? And then there's a roughly 2-week delay before it gets advertised.
What do you think? Does it need to come back to us? I mean, we know we're posting to hire the chief, and we'll have the description in there.
We'll certainly report by email to make sure it's okay with everybody, right?
Yes,
Yes.
I'm fine with that.
I'm okay with that.
Okay. Then the job description, and again, you can approve, I can revise it and give you a final version February the 9th. If you think it's more time sensitive than that, you can approve it tonight, subject to me making the revisions. Either way would be acceptable.
We'll still get to review the revisions in email before you actually send it out, right?
Yeah, just to have it voted on tonight, so.
There's really only 3 revisions, which is the 5 years of leadership in lieu of college, adding the JNET eligibility, and then 3, must be willing to reside within 30 minutes or 20 miles of the township. There's those 3 revisions that would be added. Everything else is the same.
So you guys don't wanna require a live in the township for the chief?
I think that would be very hard to do. We would like that, but that, I think that would be hard to force someone to do.
We might lose some good candidates.
Yes.
Did you write both of them on there? In township, or at least,
Well, I think
Or
that
within
pretty much
20 minutes.
describes it.
yeah, I mean, just that way
Or 30 minutes.
you're putting the expectation that we want you to be local, and but not requiring it.
You'd say in township preferred.
Preferred, yes.
Yeah, that would be fine.
That way you're
Live in the township.
you're telling them, we want you here, but if you can't, we understand.
Very good.
I would make a motion to accept that with the provisions made, providing that that gets, circulated to the board via email prior to the publication.
Have a motion?
I'll second.
Have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Can I, I think that considering we've had 2 police chiefs gone in the last 10 years, that we need a member of the community on the committee to look at the resumes, or we have some buy-in, because we need some buy-in with the board. That's, I think we all agree with that. We need to have somebody in the community involved in the decision making in some capacity or another.
Look at the resumes or,
Some type of capacity. We need more buy-in.
Legal?
It's lawful.
Yeah. And I think it would go far with the community as well.
I think at least bring him to the meeting.
Well, that's what I was gonna suggest.
Yeah, I mean, that's too far along. Yeah.
Considering the last 5 that we're actually gonna interview, I think they should probably attend the meeting, and if anyone has questions, ask.
yeah, that's how we hire
You really
doctors.
wanna
We all
scare 'em
interview
away?
them.
The way we act at these, the way we act at these meetings, I don't know.
Yeah.
Scare them away. Seriously,
Yeah.
it is not,
I know what you mean.
It would be a
I've seen
special,
them-
it would
I've
probably
seen
be a
them
special
on candidates
time
that
to
wanna
do
do
it,
that.
you know? They
Because
wouldn't
if
come
they
to the
don't get
whole meeting.
job, now their employer's aware that they're looking, or the public's aware that they're looking, and so there might be some reluctance on that end.
Okay, well, we have time to make that decision.
But I think having some buy-in with the residents would go really far, especially in the light of the 2 police chiefs in the last 10 years.
And have a special time at a meeting.
Well, I
just
mean, I
for
just
that to
think-
happen. They don't have to sit through the whole meeting or
Yeah.
anything.
See, they may not want to do that because that might jeopardize their other job. That's kind of a touchy
Conflict.
thing, yeah.
True.
Yeah.
Okay.
That would have to be a credited person as well. I mean, if it's just an average person from, I would think that could get crazy.
Well, I mean,
Employee status.
that was a no.
We just need to talk about that, not now. Eric, should we talk about employee status in executive?
If it's a budgeting or financial matter, you can talk about it in public. If it's hiring, firing, performance related, you should do that in executive session.
Okay, so the question is for,
It's pretty much,
If it's both, then you can do a little both.
okay. Okay, so the budget